Alright, hey there everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Frontier Michigan. And today we are comparing the on-paper tech specs between the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 and the GoPro Hero 13. Now I know I have the 12 and my video comparisons have been between the 12 and the Ace Pro 2, but that is because the specs on paper between the 12 and 13 are identical. They are the same as far as their tech specs. Now, the differences in quality or what it can do with that tech really comes down to the firmware and what electronic features they decide to add. But as far as hardware is concerned, between the 12 and 13, they are identical. So, on the left side of the screen is the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. On the right side of the screen is the GoPro Hero 13 Black. We had to do a little bit of scrolling because the way the pages are laid out are a little bit different, but we will compare them and compare them accurately. So, starting with the Ace Pro 2, you have the sensor size, which is a 1 over 1.3 inch sensor. On the GoPro, it is a 1 over 1.9 inch CMOS. CMOS meaning chip mounted on sensor. Now, the Ace Pro 2 has two processor chips. There's a Pro imaging chip and then there's an AI chip, which helps offload some of the processing requirements from the main chip. With the CMOS, you only have one processor directly mounted onto the image sensor itself. So that one sensor has to do everything. And this is a big reason why GoPro has an issue with overheating. They are pushing that one singular chip as hard as they can. And, you see where it's going. So, on the GoPro, that 1 over 1.9 is a 27.6 megapixel sensor. On the Insta360, it is a 50 megapixel sensor for a true 8K. Both cameras have, roughly the same focal length. The 35 millimeter equivalent focal length on the Ace Pro 2 is 13 millimeters. And on the GoPro, the focal length equivalent is 12 at the minimum and 39 at the max. The Ace Pro 2 uses a f2.6 aperture, and it's 2.5 on the GoPro. Going down to video resolutions, the Insta360 is capable of running up to 8K, whereas on the GoPro you're looking at 5.3K. In 8K, the Insta360 can do a 16:9 ratio or a 2.35 to 1 ratio, which is your ultra widescreen. GoPro's max resolution can run at an 8:7 ratio or a 16:9 ratio. Max frame rate at max resolution is 30 FPS at 8K on the Ace Pro 2, and it's up to 60 FPS and 5.3K on the GoPro. However, an 8.7K, or not 8.7K, at the 8:7 ratio at 5.3K, the GoPro can only do 30 FPS. Now, where this really matters for me, because I don't record in 8K and most people don't, is the 4K settings. GoPro can record 4K in 8:7 GoPro can record in an 8:7 ratio, a 9:16 ratio, which is your vertical for TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, or in a 16:9, which is your standard widescreen viewing format at 4K. The Insta360 can use a 4:3 ratio, a 16:9, a 2.35 to 1 at 4K. And the HDR settings, if you come down here to the GoPro, HDR is available on the GoPro up to 5.3K at 30 FPS. Or if you're like me and you record 4K at 16:9, HDR is available on GoPro at 60 FPS. For me, active HDR can be used at 4K 60 FPS as well on the Ace Pro 2. Now, these lower resolutions don't matter to me. The 2.7K and 1080 doesn't really matter. The only time I would drop to 1080 is if I was doing some super slow-mo type footage. So, yeah, not really a thing there. Both cameras have video stabilization, with GoPro having the HyperSmooth 6.0. Insta360, they have it's their flow state. It's their flow state stabilization. Both, from what I have seen, are very solid. Both do an excellent job at, stabilizing the image. So as far as image stabilization is concerned, I find both cameras to be equal. As far as max resolutions are concerned, I find the Ace Pro 2 to be better. Even though I am not going to be using 8K myself, there are people that might. So it's nice to have higher than 4K resolutions, which both offer, but the Ace Pro 2 goes higher. And, before we move on, the benefit of an 8K sensor is that you could zoom in on the camera itself. You could do a 2x zoom and still maintain a true 4K image with no loss of quality. GoPro cannot say that. Now, you could zoom in on the 5.3 and still have some decent quality, but it's not the same as recording with an 8K sensor. It is what it is. Now, GoPro does not have a low light video mode. This is where the Insta360 hands down smashes GoPro. On the Insta360, the Ace Pro 2, you have this pure video mode that allows you to record in low light. And I have pure video mode at 4K 60 FPS. Most of what I do will be at 30, but occasionally I will do 60. The Insta360 also has the capability of doing free frame, which allows you to record both a 16:9 ratio and a 9:16 ratio. So you can record your horizontal and your vertical formats at the exact same time. GoPro does not offer that. So, as far as camera capabilities, already the Ace Pro 2 is excelling here. It has the low light mode with pure video, and it has free frame, which allows you to simultaneously do two different layouts. Now, in slow motion, I gotta give it to the GoPro here at slow motion. And say that because uh, while the Ace Pro 2 can do 4K at 120 frames, which is similar to the GoPro also allows a higher recording frame rate at lower resolutions. In 1080 on the Ace Pro 2, you can go up to 240 frames a second. However, GoPro has other settings, which, it's a burst slow-mo type thing. This isn't something that the hardware is capable of doing. This is something that's done in software. Kind of like, your burst mode on a cell phone, for example. But with GoPro, at 900p, you can do 360 FPS at 900p for 15 seconds, or 400 FPS at 720 for 15 seconds, which gives you a much smoother and slower slow-mo, albeit at the reduced resolutions. That is what it is. Now, let's see if I can pull up the where is it? I want to pull up the viewing angles. I want to see if they have it on the Ace Pro 2. They don't have them listed. Yeah, they don't have the viewing angles listed. However, the Ace Pro 2 does have its own versions of Hyperview, Superview. Both cameras have a wide angle. Both cameras have a linear, which, you've seen me record in linear. Wide would be the D-Warp equivalent on the Ace Pro 2. Superview on the Ace Pro 2 would be the Mega View, which is wider with some slight distortion. And Hyperview, the equivalent to the Hyperview on the Ace Pro 2, would be the Ultra Wide, which does have a bit more of a fisheye effect, but you fully take advantage of the slightly wider 157 degree viewing angle on the Ace Pro 2. GoPro, I believe, is at 151. It might show it in the specs. Both cameras are H.265 capable, which H.265 is a more efficient video compression format over H.264 that's also available on the Ace Pro 2, but there's more devices and sites that are H.264 compatible. 360 horizon lock and horizon leveling. Both cameras have that. We look through the stats here. It's not listed on the Ace Pro 2, but the Ace Pro 2 does have 360 degree horizon lock, and it does also have a 45 degree mode where you could tilt the camera up to 45 degrees and still maintain horizon. That's essentially horizon leveling on GoPro. And I believe that works up to I believe that works up to 4K on the Ace Pro 2. I'm not sure about 8K because I haven't messed with it. And this is another area right here, color video bit depth, that GoPro does better. But this more so applies if you like to edit your own videos and color grade in post. GoPro does give you 10-bit at 4K and higher. So if you like to edit, color grade, and add a little bit more to your videos, GoPro does have the 10-bit. Unfortunately, the Ace Pro 2 only is 8-bit audio, not audio, 8-bit video, which isn't as user friendly for post color grading because you have less colors to work with essentially. 10-bit gives you more colors. Now, here's something that does matter between cameras. And this is where the Ace Pro 2 wins. The maximum video bitrate on the GoPro Hero 13 is 120 megabytes a second. Ace Pro 2, it is up to 180 megabits a second. That matters because that is overall determining how much data is being transferred and processed while you're recording. The Ace Pro 2 has the capability of processing and handling more data per second than the GoPro does. That is largely in part to it having two image sensors essentially. And it's an 8K sensor. Let's see. Sure, I saw it on the GoPro site. I know that GoPro does looping video. Insta360 does loop. Let's see. Both cameras could do time lapse, but the Insta360 also does time shift. Which the difference between time lapse and time shift is that time lapse is generally done with the camera stationary, and time shift is done with the camera in motion. However, you can time lapse with the camera in motion. In fact, the video I did the other day going out to the sinkholes, that was done in motion. Is it ideal? No, I do want to play with the time shift, but it is what it is. You can also use the Ace Pro 2 as a dash cam. It does have a dash cam mode with looped video recording. And just like the GoPro with its hindsight, there is a pre-recording capability on the Ace Pro 2 as well. Now, the exposure value, the EV comp, is plus or minus 2 on GoPro. On Ace Pro 2, it is plus or minus 4. So you have a little bit wider range of exposure that the Insta360 can adjust for and compensate for. Let's see if I can find the color profiles. Yeah, it doesn't seem that GoPro has their color profiles listed on the website. So, with GoPro, I do know that you have like your standard color profile. There's a natural color profile, and then there's a vivid color profile. At least on my 12, that is what I've experienced. I don't know if they have added other color profiles to the 13. I don't have one. Oh, and there's also, I believe, D-Log M color profile on GoPro as well. The Ace Pro 2 has iLog, which is a little bit different, but kind of similar to D-Log. There's standard, vivid, there's Leica, vivid, Leica natural, portrait, film, vintage, urban, and night color profiles. Those are all situational. I like the Leica profiles. It just seemed to be the most natural looking when paired with like the HDR. Let's see. I'm looking to see what GoPro has for their ISO range. Surprised they haven't listed ISO range on the website. Yeah, that's funny. GoPro doesn't have ISO on their site. But I can tell you, based on my experience with the GoPro, the ISO range is between 100 and 1600 on at least the 12. And that has a lot to do with like your exposure, you know, just essentially how bright the image is. The higher the range, the was it higher the brighter or lower the brighter? I'm not sure exactly which, but it basically there are limits to like how bright an image or how dark an image appears. Hopefully, the GoPro website will give me shutter speeds as well, because that's also important if you, especially for like the low light stuff. Yeah, there's a little bit here. Yeah, they got them kind of sort of listed here on GoPro. So the shutter speed on the Ace Pro 2 is 1 over 8,000 or a 120-second shutter time, which 1 over 8,000 is the fastest that the shutter will operate. You know, it's how fast that shutter moves. Or as slow as 120 seconds, so that shutter stays open for 2 minutes. On the GoPro, the nighttime shutter speed is 30 seconds. So the Insta360 has essentially 4 times the shutter length for nighttime photos than the GoPro. And then for video, it's 1 over 8,000 or to the limit of the frames per second. Yeah, I believe these photo intervals are also identical between the cameras. Yeah, you could on the Ace Pro 2, you got normal photo mode, your HDR photo mode, interval, burst photo, and star lapse, which is not too dissimilar from GoPro, which also has a standard mode, a burst photo, and a night photo. And the modes for that also include super photo, HDR, standard, and raw. What I don't see listed here on the Ace Pro 2 site is the pure shot mode. Pure shot is essentially pure video but for photo mode, which for that you have pure shot and there's pure shot plus raw. So you have the pure shot with your raw format. So it is what it is. I'm looking now to see what the white balance settings are for GoPro. I'm not sure if they have them listed. Don't believe they do. And of course, you can pause this at any point and look at these. Yeah, GoPro does not have their white balance listed. On the Ace Pro 2, you have auto settings and white balance anywhere between 2 to 10K, which honestly should be fairly similar to the GoPro. I'm not sure why it's not listed, but it is what it is. Audio features, both cameras have 3 microphones. You get 3 listed here, 3 there. Both cameras have stereo. Both cameras have a voice enhancement. And both cameras also have wind reduction, which applies to the built-in microphones. Now, where GoPro does win in this category is the advanced noise reduction that's built into the camera, which works with the external microphone, not just the internal ones. This is something that the Ace Pro 2 does lack on. So, like the video clips you see where I got the camera mounted up by the exhaust pipe, that's going to be GoPro from this point forward in that instance. So, the camera is not completely useless. It's just fallen out of main role. Now, for static, just sitting there, yeah, I'm going to use the Ace Pro 2 all day. So, GoPro captures in RAW. The Ace Pro 2 is in a lossless format. So, you have 48 kilohertz of sample rate at 16-bit, and it's ACC or AAC format, which essentially is a lossless format, just like Wave is lossless. But ACC is a bit more user friendly than Wave, at least in my experience. Let's see. GoPro lists a 3.5 audio mic input, which isn't listed here on the Ace Pro 2. However, there is a mic adapter you can get for the Ace Pro 2, which I do have, for a 3.5 millimeter mic input. GoPro, I like the way they approached it with the media mod. It's more streamlined and has a smaller footprint than the Ace Pro 2 does in this regard. With the media mod, I could plug in a mic, I could charge the camera, and I could use micro or mini HDMI plug on it as well for, let's say, exporting that video to a TV or something like directly. Whereas the mic adapter for the Ace Pro 2 allows me to plug in a wired mic, or one that uses USB-C, or lets me charge it through the mic adapter as well. The other thing that the Ace Pro 2, this is actually something positive in the Ace Pro 2's favor. Microphones that use a mic adapter, the USB-C mic adapter, can be plugged directly into the camera itself, which is nice. Let's see, what else? Looking for battery and all that. It should be on here somewhere. Let's see, runtime. GoPro does not list a runtime, but I do know it is less than that of the Ace Pro 2. Insta360 says that their runtime is 180 minutes, which is 3 hours, and that's at 1080p 24 FPS with HDR off in endurance mode. What they're telling you with that is, when you run it at higher resolutions and frame rates, or you run HDR, it's going to decrease your battery life. That is true for both cameras and any other camera out there. The harder you push and the more data you record, the shorter your battery life is going to be. Now, you would think on paper, with the Ace Pro 2 having a slightly smaller battery than the GoPro, 1800 milliamp hours versus 1900 milliamp hours, that the GoPro would last longer. It does not. There might be certain situations where somebody can get more use or less. It really depends. Both cameras are waterproof. The Ace Pro 2 without the dive case is good for 39 feet, which is slightly better than GoPro's 33 feet. And with the dive case, the Ace Pro 2 is good for just shy of 200 feet or 60 meters. There is a dive case for the GoPro, but they don't have that spec listed. Now, this is something that also works in the Ace Pro 2's favor and works in my favor, and that's charging time. The Ace Pro 2 has quick charge capability. GoPro does not have that. In fact, even that 75-minute time shown here on the Ace Pro 2 is shorter than it takes to charge a GoPro battery. Operating temperature for the camera. The Ace Pro 2 has a wider operating range that the system can tolerate versus GoPro. So it can go colder to minus 20 Celsius, it's 10 Celsius on the GoPro, or hotter at 45 Celsius, which is 35 against the GoPro. That is actually huge, because the Ace Pro 2 gives you a wider spread of extremes that the camera can function in. As far as connectivity, the Ace Pro 2 uses Bluetooth protocol 5.2, BLE 5.2. The GoPro Hero 13 is on BLE 5.3. I believe the 12 is on 5.2. Both are USB-C for their port. Both cameras have a 6. Let's see. Let me see if GoPro lists what their image stabilization is. Nope, it's not listed. Insta360, they list the internal gyroscope as a 6-axis gyro. I'm assuming that's the same on GoPro, but GoPro does not list that. And then you start getting into stuff that it's compatible with. Now, Wi-Fi connectivity, this is also important. Ace Pro 2 can run on 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, just as the GoPro can. And the Ace Pro 2 runs on 802.11, A through A, B, G, N, and AC, which, if I'm looking at these specs right, would be Wi-Fi 5 and not Wi-Fi 6. So I would have to give the slight edge here to the GoPro on Wi-Fi frequencies, because it is on that newer Wi-Fi 6. I don't believe my 12 is on Wi-Fi 6. I believe it's Wi-Fi 5. So as far as dimensions, we can look at those to compare the size. They're pretty close in size. The GoPro, this is without any cage or media mod or anything like that. No frame or nothing on the camera. It's just the camera itself. These are in millimeters. The GoPro is 71.8 millimeters wide, 50.8 millimeters high, and have a depth of 33.6 millimeters. The Ace Pro 2 is 71.9 millimeters wide, 52.2 millimeters high, and 38 millimeters deep. So it is a slightly larger camera than the GoPro Hero 13. The weight of the Ace Pro 2 is 177.2 grams or 6.3 ounces, which is a little heavier than the GoPro at 159 grams. So it's a little heavier. So if you like to backpack a lot or whatever, that extra little bit of weight might be noticeable on a longer day. The Ace Pro 2 only comes in black. GoPro can also be had in white. They have a white version of this camera now. So, on paper, there's a lot of things that are very similar between the two. And this is comparing, again, the 13 against the Ace Pro 2. I have a 12, but the 12 specs are pretty much spot on identical with these. There might be some slight differences in modes here and there. So, let me know down below what you guys think. I do believe the Ace Pro 2 is an overall better camera from what I've experienced so far. I find the Ace Pro 2, as far as its software is concerned, is definitely more user-friendly and faster. For getting content up fast, speed of being able to save the video, process it, and all that, and then re-upload it, it's key. Now, GoPro's sale on the Hero 13 Black is no longer active. It was at $350. It's now at a normal price of $399.99. I'll go to the buy page for both because there are options to this. Both cameras at their base right now, GoPro Hero 13 is $399. The Ace Pro 2 standard bundle, which is a single battery with nothing else, is also at $399. However, with the Ace Pro 2, you can get a dual battery, comes with a second battery, for $419.99, which is what I opted for. And then I just kitted everything out with all the accessories that I had ordered. You could do that with GoPro as well. They got the white version available for $399.99 as well. They have an accessories bundle, which has a second battery, and then you get a camera case, a 64 gig micro card. You get the tripod selfie stick thing, and you get a couple of curved adhesive mounts. Or you could build a bundle and got different options here. So what is the most expensive bundle that is offered by GoPro? It looks like their snowboard bundle It looks like the snowboard bundle is the most expensive bundle, and that gives you the camera, the ultra wide lens mod, an extension pole, a bite mount, an extension piece, a camera case, and 7 mounts. So you don't even get a second battery in the most expensive bundle. How about the 4-wheel one? So in the 4-wheel kit, you get the camera, the handlebar, seat post, pull mount, a suction cup, a tube mount, and a camera case. That is a lot of money for not a lot of stuff. So let me build a bundle. Let me build a bundle for uh, how I'm currently equipped. So let's do travel, auto, all terrain, and let's do pets. No, let's go vlog. I'm not sure why this will help, but anyway, let's do that. So you got the base camera. Let's see. Let's get the extension pole. The Ace Pro 2 comes with a magnetic latch mount, so we'll have to add that. We'll have to get a second battery. We'll have to get the charger. I don't have any lens mods or nothing like that. Is there no media mod, or they must have changed it for the 13? So this isn't even including the media mod or a external mic mount, any cold shoe mounts. This is just the basic stuff, and some of this is our stuff I already have for $614.95 with 10% off for essentially $600. That's not counting tax, shipping, or anything like that. Yeah, that's. Yeah, no. So we'll exit out of that. So the most expensive bundle on the Ace Pro 2, the most expensive out of the box bundle on the Ace Pro 2 is $655. But you get the camera, you get the wind guards and stuff that come with it. You get 3 batteries. You get a 128 gigabyte card. You get a multi-mount. You get a quick release mount. You get a quick release cold shoe for mounting an external mic. And you get a mic adapter and a utility frame. Essentially, half the stuff in this bundle I bought separately for me. So you're getting more features, more ways to mount. Yeah, for a little bit more money, but you're getting more. 3 batteries is huge. The winter bundle, I'd say this is comparable to the ski or snowboard bundle for GoPro, but it includes the camera. You get 2 batteries, you get a standard mount, you get the mic cap, the USB cable, the 128 gigabyte card. You get a chest strap, a flexible adhesive mount. You get the selfie stick. You get a 3-pronged quarter adapter. So even that for a little less than the ski or snowboard bundle for GoPro is cheaper and still gives you more. So let's play a game and let's build the kit that I have. Let's go get accessories. Ace Pro 2. I'm going to tally up everything together of what I spent on my Ace Pro 2 setup. Add that to cart. I got the 512 gigabyte card. I didn't really buy any of the additional mounts or nothing like that because I could use the GoPro ones. I got the utility frame for the Ace Pro 2, which has your cold shoe mounts in it already. The camera comes with the standard mount. Ordered the mic adapter, and then the portable charging case. That is all of what I ordered. So that's 5 items. 5 items right here to outfit my exact setup. $614. And that's not including the cost of the microphone, which I've already had, but the microphone itself was $70. So anyway, this has been an episode of Frontier Michigan. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go make dinner because I'm getting hungry. And I'll see you guys on the next one.